Hey traders, Raghee here, and in this recap video, I'm going to walk you through the NAS, the Dow, and the SPOOs, and walk you through some strategy depending upon where we are on the daily time frame, and show you some of the setups that we had from today. So this is a really good one to take notes on, because the price action that I'm going to show you on these three markets actually create different opportunities or negate different opportunities, and we're going to start with the daily of each one of these. So what I want you to note for the NAS here is the fact that the overall trend has started to resume its overall upward movement. This is just a resumption of, I think, an uptrend, but after it transitioned into chop. So this is a reorganization. Respect the trend that was, but we want to look for movement to the upside. Now, the challenge here is we're not at the lows where we would buy. We're not quite at the highs either up in this area where I would look to possibly sell or look for a shorter term time frame to roll over. So I'm not looking at that resistance either. We're in the middle. So while we're in the middle, you'll hear me use a phrase like retreat to the shorter term time frames. And that's typically going to be 60-minute time frames or less, and even more specifically, the 5 or the 15-minute time frame. So what I'm looking for is any kind of organization, an intraday uptrend or downtrend, any kind of organization on the 5 or 15. Now this morning when we had our chat, the kind of mood the market seemed to be in was breaking the intraday pre-market downtrend. You can see that happening right here. So the market was heading lower, and then right there, we started to see there's a little bit more chop. That blue grab candle cues us into that. More blue grab candle telling us we're dealing with more of a chop. And then here come the greens. Now we're looking to see if this market can organize into an uptrend, and preferably we'll look for the opportunity after 10 o'clock. After 10. So after 10 a.m. Eastern, post-clearing, we look for opportunities to get long, and it happened again. So here's 10 o'clock right there, right? It happened again. Well, actually, that might be right after 10 right there. Again and again and again, okay? And even most recently, you could look for this as a fade buy, okay? Now, here's what's really cool about this, and this is sort of my battle cry when anybody joins Simpler Futures, looking for futures and Forex trades. Because of the tools that I use, and a lot of these are available natively on different charting platforms, or you can reproduce on darn near any charting platform because they're classic tools like Darvis, they're classic moving averages like exponential and simple moving averages, some basic color-coded candles, which I show you how to even code yourself for those of you that are ambitious and talented enough to do that. Everything here on my chart you can recreate on your chart, which means you can look at the markets the way a 30-year veteran does. And that is what gets me so excited. So think about it. On day one, your charts can look like mine. On day one, you can kind of borrow 30 years of experience and basically not have to go through the trials and tribulations that I did over the course of my career. I mean, that's the whole point, right? For me to shorten your learning curve. So that's one example on the NAS. And the whole trade started with understanding what the daily time frame was doing, and it led us to a really profitable and productive intraday setup. So let's do the same thing with the SPOOs. So this way we can go a little quicker now. You know what I'm looking at. So what's the sitch here? Are we right up against resistance levels? Actually, we are. So if I'm right up against this resistance level, let me draw this in for you. So again, this box is created automatically. I'm not doing this manually. You can have this same box on your charts on day one. You know that that's going to be resistance because it was resistance before. Well, if I'm coming up on resistance, I'm going to be a little bit hesitant to be too ambitiously long, but I know I'll probably look to be long, and I'll do so hesitatingly on a shorter term 5 or 15-minute time frame. Quite frankly, the 5 and 15s didn't look all that good. So once I know what's happening, based upon where we are, I'll just again go to the intraday, and then I'll ask myself, do the setups look good? Well, if they don't, I don't take them. This chart doesn't look anywhere near as clear as the NAS did. So this is an easy one to say no to because the daily time frame has told me what to look for, what direction to look for, what to be on the look out for in terms of possibly rejection at the ceiling, and I know I want to trend follow, and unless the criteria I need for the trend follow is visible, I just pass. And this was an easy pass. Next is the Dow. Now the Dow is one of my favorites. Right now, my favorite indexes to trade and in order are probably the NAS, Dow, Nikkei, then SPOOs. And sometimes the Dow is really my favorite. The Dow is one of those markets that because of that $5 per point value, a lot of people overlook it and go for the S&P, which is $25. But I think most traders will tell you the Dow is easier to trade. So let's take a look at the Dow. Well, this thing is punching up to consistent higher highs. And I'm not going to be a buyer at a higher high. I'm going to very purposefully look for one of two things. Either a short-term intraday reversal, or, and this is the easier part, the higher high on the daily, again, is going to drive me to the 60, the 30, the 15, or the 5, a shorter term time frame, and I'll have a bias, what I call a bullish bias. I'll have that bullish bias, and that tells me, what am I looking for? I'm looking for exclusively opportunities to buy. So I look very directionally here, and the 60-minute becomes easy peasy for that. Easy for that there, because I'm looking specifically for preferably a trend follow. So I could look for an intraday wave reversal buy, or I could look for a continuation swing buy. And if I can take advantage of a trend following swing buy, that is going to be what I'll do every single time when possible. So those are the three indexes. That's how we traded them. These setups happen over and over and over again. What's going on in the daily helps dictate for me which time frame I'm going to choose, how I'm going to look to trade it, and the direction. And if you do that, you'll stay out of trouble more times than not. All right, hope this recap helped. See you in the next update.